when you have a history of greatness, the real challenge starts after the finish line.
I can taste triumph with the heart of a lion.
When victory alone isn't enough, you chase something greater, no matter how difficult the path, on the dirt, in the sand, and beyond. The new 2024 Ridgeline Passport and Pilot, part of our most rugged trail sport lineup yet. From Honda.
All right, we're back, and we're with the parish president of Terrebonne Parish. And we want to bring you an update. DOTD gave us an update on the Company Canal Bridge. Of course, that is the Berg Bridge. And per DOTD, electrical work remains the critical issue. But I'm going to let the parish president talk about those bullet points that the DOTD sent out. You know, often get people come up to me and say, man, when you go do a story on this bridge or that bridge? And a lot of people get confused. They think every bridge in Terrebonne Parish is a parish bridge. But we see right here that this is a state bridge, and it's been delayed, but I wanted you to talk to the people because they're concerned about it, but there's a lot of different factors that are going into this particular bridge.
Yeah, and, you know, again, when you talk about what's the state bridge, what's the parish bridge, residents don't care. You know, they look at it as government needs to provide infrastructure, government needs to make sure everything's working, that we can flow and go to work and do, you know, go to school and everything, and have that flow, right? I mean, and it's frustrating. It is very frustrating. You know, when I first got in office, I sat down with DOTD. We meet with DOTD once a quarter, and it was a conversation about how we can work together. You know, I'd already had conversations with the governor about what his plans were, the fact that we're a sub-district of New Orleans, and then hoping to try to change some of those things. And you could see the work that the governor is doing now when it comes to restructuring DOTD, right? It's one of the most bureaucratic agencies in the state, and we're trying to undo stuff that's been in place for 30 to 40 years. And so it's very frustrating. You know, there's the conversation about, you know, do you provide an update? Do you not provide an update? People get frustrated every time you push it back. I'd rather give people information so they can make informed decisions. And so when we do get an update, you know, there's conversations around do they put it on their Facebook page? Well, they don't have a regional Facebook page, and they're not going to put some region-related issues on their statewide Facebook page. So that's where it's our responsibility as local government to pass information on as we have it, and not just the fact that it's being pushed back to mid-April, but kind of the why. And, you know, we've been dealing with a supply chain issue since COVID. The example I like to give is at church, the air conditioner went out, and they talked about a replacement was going to be 43 weeks out, right? So a lot of that similar issues are playing into where you got some obsolete parts and some things that some of these bridges are built one-off. And so as the governor works to restructure DOTD, these are examples that can be used of how things can be better, where maybe you do create a standard for bridges and have it where it's a certain size ranking. And look, there's conversations about there's not much boat traffic, and there's so many different agencies that get involved, including the Coast Guard and managing, or the Corps of Engineers and managing how we operate bridges and what data we have to track and what things that they need that if we don't do, we lose the possibility of funding when it comes to projects like this. And so, you know, to let the public know, we're just as frustrated. The other concerns we have is the wear and tear it's putting on everything around it. We get pictures on a regular basis of 18-wheelers that are on Country Drive. So we're working with both the sheriff's office and state police to make sure that that's patrolled. We put more signage up. And, you know, every time we have a problem, we're sitting down with, you know, whoever needs to be involved and working with them, including DOT, that says, you know, why aren't we dealing with traffic control? Well, when you look at what it takes to put traffic control in a construction project, that project doesn't meet the 3 requirements that say you must have traffic control. But then to also learn in situations where it does have the 3 requirements, DOTD hadn't been able to do traffic control in every situation there either. Again, examples that we can give the governor and the new secretary of DOTD of ways that they can improve to make DOTD more responsive. And when you look at, you know, conversations we've had where, you know, there are 700 bridges in the state that need to be repaired, and DOTD was working on getting 14 done. And the governor wasn't happy with that. And that's why you're seeing some of these changes like you do.
And the governor will be here this week in Terrebonne and Lafourche Parish. And I guess that also mirrors, you know, he's a big Trump ally, and they all have the same mindset. They want efficiency in every department. And I'm sure he's looking like the president's looking nationally. I'm sure he's looking statewide, and I'm sure it trickles down locally too.
Yeah, and we've been working. That was one of the main things I took on whenever I got in office was efficiency, because I knew there was a way to operate government better with what we have, and I've been working on that for over a year now, and we're seeing some results of that already, where we were able to put more money into our vegetation contract or into our roads and bridges this year, and change some of the contracts to get more bang for our buck. But we're definitely working with DOTD on a regular basis to give updates as they come out. And part of the problem is not getting information, or we find out sometimes the day of that a road's being closed. We'll get an alert and says, hey, so and so road's being closed for construction, and we had a meeting with DOTD a week ahead of time, and what even discussed. And so it's just working on better communication and making sure that we have information to let residents know what kind of items like this are going to affect.
Are they getting better?
I feel like they are getting better. I feel like they're more responsive. I had a phone call yesterday. When you look at the problems that we're dealing with Dakeville Bridge, they're saying probably another month on that bridge. But, in the meantime, we've had some conversations about changing the light signaling, where the lights will flow better. The original answer was, no, we're not going to do that. So end up having a conversation with Deputy Secretary. I get a phone call from a guy with DOTD yesterday, and says by this morning, hopefully, he'll have that light recalibrated. So sometimes the default answer might be no based on protocol or policy that's been in place for 30 years. That's when we get involved. We have a conversation that says, I hear what you're saying, but for this amount of time, we talked about the effect that it could have on emergency response and everything else. And when you look at that bridge, a failed motor caused that bridge to pull against itself, right? Somebody thinks it might be operator error or something like that, but something failed, it bent the girder, they got to get it straightened out. And we've had conversations about, do we open it? Can we run on it while it's down and it's been down? No, okay, well, let's adjust the signal lights. And having that great working relationship and being having an open conversation with DOTD allows us the opportunity to make some of those things happen.
Sometimes no means yes, huh?
Sometimes no means yes, sometimes no means not now.
Right.
And look, when we get reported something like a pothole or whatever it is, if it's a safety issue, the conversation we have on our team is, look, let's get with DOTD, let's let them know about it. From there, if we'll give them a certain amount of time. If it's an unsafe issue, if cars are getting damaged, or if there's a possible risk for human life or safety, we're going to go out and fix it, and then work on who's responsible after the fact. So that's something that our team is ready to jump on and address issues. And the number one thing I look at for our residents is safety and how it relates to how they get around the parish every day.
All right, Mr. Parish President, thanks for the update. We appreciate it, and keep us informed.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
All right, we'll take a break. We'll be back with a lot more right here on Bayou Time.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Alford and Associates for all of your insurance needs. CIS, Cardiovascular Institute of the South, the highest quality cardiovascular care available. Barker Honda, the Barker family tradition of quality.